Hi, I'm Ashley Brown, and I'm President and CEO of the Women's Resource Center. And this is Elevating Women's Voices. Elevating Women's Voices is an initiative of the Women's Resource Center focused on getting more women engaged in voting, civic engagement, running for office, and getting more educated and informed on the policies that impact their lives. I'm really excited about the discussion we're going to have today because public policy and the systems that impact our women and families are a big part of this initiative. We advocate for things like benefit cliffs, childcare access, affordable housing, and in particular to our topic today, Amendment 4, which is protecting a woman's right to choose. So joining me today is a wonderful panel that I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you all. And I want to thank you for being here with me today. And Nancy, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you to the Women's Center for having the League of Women Voters of Manatee County here for this conversation. I'm the chair of the Reproductive Rights Action Team for the League of Manatee County. Before I retired here in Florida, I was active in both representing the healthcare patient side as well as the healthcare provider side in Washington, D.C., doing healthcare policy.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. And longtime friend, supporter, board member of the Women's Resource Center, Jaymie Carter.
Oh, thank you, Ashley, for having me. Yes, I've always been passionate about women's issues and girls' issues. That's why I became involved with the Women's Resource Center many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I am a retired realtor and just advocating for whatever causes that I find that I'm passionate about.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And now, Carol Whitmore. I can't wait to see how you're going to introduce yourself because there are so many titles: nurse, commissioner, mom, grandmother. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm Carol Whitmore in town, and I'm Nana to my grandkids, but I appreciate it. Yes, I'm a longtime nurse and a registered nurse, still licensed. And I'm also a longtime politician, a county commissioner, and I'm not in that anymore. But I'm doing a lot of things that I want to do, kind of like Jaymie's doing. I want to do things that are passionate to me. I'm volunteering at Turning Points, and I absolutely love it. So I'm finally doing the things that I want to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here, and I want to set the stage a little of the roles that that you're showing up in today. Nancy, as a representative of the League of Women Voters, is going to talk us through amendment language and get kind of the facts and just the facts, ma'am. Carol and Jaymie, both, I'm going to say lifelong, but long time conservative Republican women, felt really strongly about choice and women's rights and no government overreach as traditional conservatives. So they've started a Conservative Women for Four. And so they're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on there and what you're doing in the county and beyond, as an article just came out. And just for full disclosure, I work as a resource with them and talking about the state of women and the realities for women and the policies that impact women's ability to earn a living wage, and certainly Amendment 4 is in that. And it has been fun working together, hilarious. We laugh a lot, which we're going to do today. So Nancy, if you would take us through, and if you could do a little setup of what the law was and how long it was in place, and then the amendment.
Great. Glasses on, just to make sure I get my notes right. It was in 1973 that the U.S. Supreme Court recognized a constitutional right to obtain an abortion up until viability of the fetus. The court at that time also recognized that the state legislatures had a role in regulating abortion as to as long as the regulations didn't put an undue burden on the patients. This included who could perform the abortions, the clinic standards and the like. So that was the law of Florida from 1973 until the year 2022. So nearly 50 years. So what changed? Well, 2 years ago, the Florida state legislature passed a 15-week abortion ban. Then 1 year later, a near total abortion ban was passed by the legislature. So as of this year, 2024, abortions in Florida are banned at 6 weeks when most women aren't even aware that they are pregnant. Now, there are exceptions to the current near total abortion ban in the state. They are rape, incest, human trafficking, and in cases of life endangerment for the mother, and fetal abnormality. But these exceptions can be very difficult and in some cases impossible to meet. Last year, there was a coalition of groups that collected more than 1.4 million petition signatures from registered Republicans, Democrats, and other voters to get what is now called Amendment 4 on the ballot. And what it would do is limit government interference with abortion. So what exactly does the amendment say? The amendment says, no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. That's it. Now, some have argued that this amendment is too vague, and in fact, that argument was used before the Florida State Supreme Court as a reason to keep the amendment off the ballot in November. So to quote the State Supreme Court Chief Justice, Carlos Muñoz, the people of Florida aren't stupid. I mean, they can figure it out. His words, close quote. I can go through the various elements of the amendment, or we can talk about that as we go along.
I think we're going to swing back to that. I think that the thing that I really want to underline in what you were saying is, most importantly, the law that was on the books from 1973 to 2022, it's the same.
It basically said that
Yes.
abortion is available to women up until the point of viability. And the state legislature of Florida had already defined viability, already defined who could perform abortions, already defined what are the requirements of clinics performing abortions. That's all currently in state statute.
Right. So, I think that's really important because someone, actually not someone, it was our board chair, as we were talking about some messaging around 4 and why it was important to her. She used a statement, and this is Gray Vidanka, full credit, of that her concern is when opinion morphs into fact and or blends into fact. And I think that that's so much of what we're seeing now, especially on this topic. So I think it's really clear. I want to be clear to say this was a law that was on the books for almost 50 years, that we have the definitions, we have the understanding of what medical providers are, et cetera. Just that as an example.
Yes.
So Jaymie and Carol, I'm going to kind of shift to you. And I want to talk first, give you the chance to talk about what kind of drove you two, because it was really the two of you that said, hey, we want to do this. So as Republican women and a former elected official, Republican woman, what made you say, I want to get involved in this, even though it's going to be messy, even though it's going to cause all of this? So talk to me a little bit about why you all felt so strongly.
Well, you know, when they overturned Roe v. Wade, that was just heartbreaking. And watching, you know, the political scene, watching what was being said on, you know, on the news and reading in the papers, and I'm like, this is bad. This is bad. And then what was happening with our state, and when we went to the 6-week ban, That's, no. As a Republican, I need to speak up. I knew, and it was when we were getting petitions signed, and I knew that there had to be Republican women out there, right? You know, that cannot be okay with what was happening. So that's
how we started.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I made a mission to get the petition signed, and I guess I put every time I sent more petitions, I would put my business card in so they knew that they were actually coming from a Manatee County, because they were being sent to Sarasota at the time. And I got hundreds, but I tend to, and Jaymie does too, we tend to hang around a lot of people. I belong to 3 Republican clubs. I'm on the Republican Executive Committee. Everywhere I went, I only maybe had 2 or 3 people not want to sign it because they said it's an overreach of government. And I think that's why we're all here today. Government is getting, during COVID, we had many, many people stand up, did not want to wear masks, saying it was overreach of government. Government was getting into our health and our lives. And then now this turns around, and what's the difference? Really nothing.
Exactly.
You still determine your health between you and your physician. And in the Constitution, when it says a healthcare provider, because we have people say, well, it doesn't say who's going to do it, somebody off the streets. It's not true. It defines, it's a licensed physician, et cetera. And it goes all down the list of people that are considered healthcare providers in the state of Florida. So that's kind of why we got involved, because what we found out is when we got petitions signed, everybody would say, well, I'll sign it, but a lot of my people I hang around with aren't going to like this. So we decided to start this little group so that we could actually feel safe, have Republicans in a safe place, or not even Republicans, conservatives that want to talk about it but really don't feel like they can talk about it out there. We've decided to put ourselves out there, and others.
Brave.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Go ahead.
excuse me. And our goal is to put out the facts, and then our people that guests that joined us and participated, they can go out into their communities and with their groups and have the information that's not true. They can have the quality information.
And I think that that's so important, the facts. And I want to give kudos to the League of Women Voters that I think does an outstanding job of providing quality, nonpartisan information. The League will have positions on things, but it's very clear of here's the information, this is what it means. And if the League has a position, a yes or no, and the why. So thank you for the work
Yes.
you're doing there. Yes. So you touched on it a little on Manatee County, and that you wanted the petitions that were being signed, that Manatee County voters were in support of having this ballot initiative. Manatee County is a deep red.
Very red.
And when did we start using red and blue? Can we stop that? I think when we think of all of the divisiveness, because we had another show on women running for office and the importance of having more female representation. And there was a really great discussion on we are each other's neighbors. We're coworkers. We need to be focused on the things that are making our communities stronger and giving people the opportunity to support themselves and all of those things. And I feel like this particular topic is so emotional for people. So we lose sight of the fact that it is government overreach, and that this is something that the majority of people support, women having access to their own health choice or healthcare and their choices. So, but throughout the country, in red and blue, there have been 6 or 7 initiatives, constitutional amendments, and they've all passed, even in Kansas.
Right.
So sorry, Kansas, but that's, so why do you think that this is so important for people, and so many, even if it goes against what their party line is saying? I'll let anybody take that, but you can all answer.
Well, in politics, it's either one way or the other way. But when somebody was not smart enough to bring this issue up, I think they've realized that they've gone overboard. It's totally government overreach. And we are educated, and actually I've gotten a lot of men that support this too, which signed the petition. It's people are starting to get in our personal lives, and as Republicans and Democrats too, they don't want government involved with everything that they're doing. They want to make their own decisions. But you're right, Manatee County is, I think, the second most conservative county in the state. There's one other in the Panhandle. So I know when we had that no-kill movement in Manatee County with the animals, we had national recognition because of how conservative we are. And we still are pretty conservative in Manatee County. But again, on this issue, I think people may not come out like Jaymie and I and Nancy to talk publicly, but I think they will go behind in the voter booth and they will vote. We had a poll not too long ago. 68 or 69% of Floridians supported this.
I think the people of Florida, the voters of Florida, all agree that a patient should have the freedom to make a very personal decision having to do with abortion without a politician interfering with that decision. Nobody wants to go out and wave the flag and blow the horn and say, woohoo, I just got an abortion. It's something that's very personal.
Absolutely.
And, a friend of mine once said,
and difficult.
That the exam room is just too small for myself, my doctor, and the state legislature.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a good one.
That's a great
Is that a
analogy.
bumper sticker?
Yeah, it's
Right.
it is. And we don't know what these patients are going through.
Right.
There is no one reason for having an abortion. There are multitudes. And to try and come up with language that covers every single possibility for why a person has an abortion is impossible. It's just like the issue of the current near total abortion ban. It does talk about protecting the woman's health. When the physician community asked for an explanation or clarification on exactly what instances this would cover, the state came back with only 3 examples. And that raises even more questions. So if the woman's health doesn't fit into these 3 specific situations, does that mean I can't perform an abortion if her health is at risk? There are so many unanswered questions about the 6-week ban. And that just shows the flaw of trying to write medicine into law.
Well, interesting, and I'm going to go, and if I take you off track, there were 2 things I want to talk about, but you just set up something on, at a recent event, we had Dr. Pandisio come and speak with us, who's a gynecologist, practiced in Manatee County her career,
Right.
and talked about the how uncomfortable it is for physicians to know where the line is in terms of, are they going to be charged with a felony? And they have the oath to take care of their patients in that piece. So, Carol, I don't know if you have anything as a healthcare provider on that aspect and some of the things that Dr. Pandisio spoke about.
Yeah, there's HIPAA. We all know what HIPAA is for to keep between the physician and the patient confidential, and those are actual laws. And the physician is caught in the middle. And Dr. Pandisio educated a lot of us about having 2 physicians, and then if there's a diagnosis that's going to be detrimental to her patient's life, there's a process she has to go. Now she can't just call the OR and say, I need to get in right away, take care of somebody. So it's tying their hands a little bit. In 2021 and half of 22, there were not any third trimester abortions in the state of Florida. That's before the laws started, when we started restricting more. Everybody thinks that people are just going to go out, and I keep reading that, and that is 100% not true. It wasn't in 21, and it wasn't in half of 22 when the laws were the same as they were in 1973. So I think the public needs to know that.
And recently, if people paid attention to both Manatee and Sarasota County commissions have made restrictions against working with any abortion provider. Sarasota County specifically called out Planned Parenthood. The Women's Resource Center providing referrals to anyone that calls us is a big piece of what we do. We do almost 8,000 referrals a year. And it is not our job to make decisions on people's choices. So if someone were to call us and that was if an unplanned pregnancy were the issue, we would have given them in Manatee County, Solve, CareNet, Planned Parenthood. We're going to give information and let people make their choice. When we started looking at the number of referrals we had given to Planned Parenthood when we were faced with having to sign an affidavit, 0. When Sarasota County defunded 211, which is used to access all kinds of resources, again, how many referrals were given? 0. So looking at the actual data around what people's perceptions are and the reality are so important. And the other thing is restrictive bans don't reduce the number of women who are getting abortions. It just makes them unsafe.
Right.
And I think we don't talk about that enough.
And every one of those commissioners that were in office that voted for that restriction just got it voted out of office 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
So the
right?
people are speaking. I mean, that they are totally, we don't even have a clinic in Manatee County.
Right.
And yet our commissioners made us a sanctuary county. We'd never had one, and I've lived in Manatee County 55 years. So, but all of those were voted out. So maybe we are going to start, I think the citizens are starting to get a little more educated before they vote.
I think we get lulled into, things are going and things are fine. And then all of a sudden you just think,
Interferes with
that's
you.
interesting. Or we need to dig a little more into that. Jaymie, I know you have 2 daughters and a granddaughter.
Yes.
I have nieces, granddaughters. Talk about the feeling that our younger people have less rights than any of us sitting at this table did when we were growing up and in our reproductive years. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I feel like we're all beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
But right, so it's kind of shocking.
It is. And
Sorry.
I still can't, it still amazes me that we're even sitting here talking about this now. One of my daughters married, the house, the dogs, everything. She's pregnant. So she goes through the normal testing, and there were definite issues. And fortunately, she was able to have an abortion because the baby would not have lived to full term, fortunately she had that choice and that ability to have what she needed. And today she couldn't. She couldn't. Or she could fly out of state. We can afford to do that for her, but a lot of families cannot. And there's a waiting list. I think it's in Virginia or North Carolina.
Probably.
Yeah, and it's just, another reason why I'm a strong supporter of this is because I want them to have the ability to make a choice in what they want to do.
If I could add to your story, Jaymie, we also need to think about the consequences if Amendment 4 is not passed. I mean, the most obvious one is the near total abortion ban will still be in effect, as you mentioned in your story. but we could, as a state, face the same consequences as Idaho. That state lost 22% of its practicing obstetricians.
That's right.
After its abortion bans took effect. It has lost 55% of its high-risk obstetricians. 19% of Florida counties are already maternity deserts, meaning that they don't have adequate OBGYN care or birthing centers. 20%, nearly 20%. I think it's 19% actually. An analysis by the Association of American Medical Colleges found that the number of applicants to residency programs in states with near total abortion bans declined by over 4% in 1 year, up to 2024. That compares to 0.6%, less than 1% in the other states. And this isn't just OBGYN specialties. This is also impacting primary care physicians, internal medicine physicians. It will impact our healthcare system beyond just pregnancy.
Do you know, we talk about unintended consequences. We haven't talked about it yet. I talk about it a lot because I'm nerdy. I can't help it. But when we talk about the unintended consequences of benefit cliffs, that you're trying to give some support, and we want to make sure no one's taking advantage, so it's restrictive, and then we end up having families choose not to work because they can't afford childcare, which isn't what we wanted. This is yet another perfect example of thinking about not just this one thing, but what are all of the waterfall consequences of this one thing. And I think we could do more of that as we look at policies of what are the things that will come into play after. So I want to do is we're getting to the end of our time, believe it or not. I want to talk about one thing that you would want people to consider about Amendment 4, or something that I didn't ask you that you're like, oh, I really wanted to talk about this. So, Carol, I'm going to start with you, or do you want a minute?
No, it's okay. I think the reason why that I'm on this mission, and probably all of us are on this mission, is the government overreach into our healthcare. And I'm a proud registered nurse, and I've seen everything at Manatee Memorial's emergency room and everywhere else. So it's just, they've gone too far. And with this issue, this is so personal and private with the physician and the patient. If anybody goes around celebrating they've had an abortion, I've never heard of it. It is not a easy decision. It's not at all. And, you know, but they had the choice. They had the choice. And again, as an elected official, I was in office during COVID. And people came up in droves, out in the hallways, upstairs on the 5th floor, because we had the mask mandate that was actually put down by the federal government and the state, the governor. So, but we were the local government. So it's no different. Just let us make our own healthcare decisions. And to me, that's the main reason why I've been involved, because when you're in public service, this isn't an easy issue to talk about, because this is a very passionate issue. And I've been I'm shocked at actually the positive feedback we've gotten. And I'm sure Jaymie will attest to that. So many people are afraid to say what we're saying, and so we're their voice.
Nice.
A lot of thank yous and positive comments have come our way since we started speaking out and throwing these little events, and it's shocking.
So if somebody's interested in hosting an event, because we're doing small gatherings and just inviting people to come and have a safe space to ask questions, etc., should they connect with you, Carol?
Probably Carol, because I'm going out of town.
There you go.
For
And
Sorry,
our
Carol.
small gatherings
Yes.
of about 40 people at a time
Right.
now, and it's snowballing. They have friends that attend that they want more. So,
Yeah.
okay, 941-730-2302 is my number.
There
Feel free
you
to text or
go.
call. Thanks, Jaymie.
You're brave. You're brave, but no, and they're amazing. So
Yeah,
thank you for what you're
wonderful.
doing there,
Thank you.
Nancy. I did kind of prod you on one story that I want you to tell, but I want you to give yours first.
We'll tell the story, but I just want to say we need to trust women.
Yes.
We need to trust them to make the decisions that are right for themselves, for their families, in consultation with their healthcare team, and without the interference of politicians. We also have to recognize that doctors should not have to risk their careers just to treat the patients in front of them.
Here, here.
So the story that you wanted me to share, when Gerald Ford was president, it was very difficult to talk about breast cancer.
Oh, yeah.
It was too personal. It was too inappropriate. But we all know that First Lady Betty Ford changed all that. And one of her favorite quotes was, "Being ladylike does not require silence."
Which
Love
is
it.
another bumper sticker. We have 2 bumper stickers from this. I don't know if we'll have to pay METV royalties on them, but and I think that if you were to poll any of us, having to talk about access to healthcare, having to talk about abortion is not something that any of us asked to do. And as the CEO of the Women's Resource Center, it was a lot of conversation with our board, with the staff, and did we feel like this is something, one, did it align with our mission? And, at the core of our mission is to help women and families build economic stability and resiliency and all that goes with that. And policies and systems, and this law in particular, is an interference to a woman's trajectory if we're making that decision. And we have a beautiful statement that I'm going to do my glasses and read to make sure I get it right, which is that Women's Resource Center asserts its unwavering support for an individual's fundamental right to a full and complete access to reproductive health services and the role this freedom plays in a woman's empowerment, economic equity, and security. We will continue to support women on their path to living a successful life rooted in financial stability and a strong sense of self. So while it is hard to talk about and it's just sticky, but it's important. And I so appreciate the work that you all are doing to raise your voices. I also encourage you to go onto our website, mywrc.org, to check out Elevating Women's Voices and all the ways you can get information and engaged in your community and the things that are impacting you in your daily life. Thank you, ladies, for being here, and thank you for tuning in.